That is correct. If it wasn't for this particular story, we wouldn't have some of the cooler stuff that we have in Call of Duty games. Hello everyone, David here, and welcome to a series review. Now, the two series or television shows that I always review on an episodic level have wrapped up their fourth and first season. Of course, I'm talking about The Walking Dead and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But for the past almost 2 months, I've been watching this show called Turn, which was the show that kind of took Walking Dead's place after it ended. And it actually premiered on the season finale of The Walking Dead. And ever since then, I've been watching it every Sunday on AMC, and I've been trying to catch up with it and finish it all the way to the end of Season 1. And now Season 1 has wrapped up, so I'm going to go ahead and review the season as a whole. I thought to myself, I think that the material of this show and its popularity is not enough to warrant episodic reviews for each episode week after week. So I said to myself, I'm going to review this at the very end of the season in its entirety and give you guys my overall opinion. Now, this show is called Turn, and it's about the first ever spy ring that played a very important role during the Revolutionary War. And of course, this takes place in the 1700s. The Declaration of Independence has been signed, and now we have the war between the Continentals and the British Army. And that's mostly the backdrop to what's truly going on, and our main character, Abraham Woodhull, and how he becomes the focal point of this entire spy ring, and how it was here where it all got started. You know, the whole concept of dead drops and codes and aliases, all that started here. Season 1 consists of 10 episodes, and the show stars Billy Elliot himself, Jamie Bell as our main character, Abraham, as well as a really good cast. Now, the vast majority of this cast, I can't remember their names. I remember their faces an awful lot, but I can't seem to remember their names except for a couple of character actors here and there, such as Angus McFadden, who plays this guy, this Irish or Scottish figure named Robert Rogers. I believe that was his name. And he's such an amazing character. But you also got other character actors like Kevin R. McNally from Pirates of the Caribbean films. He plays Abraham's father in this show. And then you got Burn Gorman, who plays Major Hewlett, who's like the main sort of bad guy in this show, who plays a Major Hewlett, who's the main officer behind all the forces that are occupying the town of Setauket, which is the main setting of this show during this current season. And he is known from Pacific Rim and The Dark Knight Rises. So you got all these character actors mixed in with these fresh new faces, fresh young faces that really do bring their talent to these characters and really gives us memorable characters that we can remember certain things about and are properly developed as the season goes along. And as a whole, I think that Turn is actually a pretty good show. This is developed by, I think his name was Craig Silverstein or Silverstein, however you pronounce his name. From what I remember looking up, he developed Nikita, which was also another famous show and just recently ended, I believe. So this is his next endeavor, and so far it's a pretty good show. I do, however, feel that the second half is better than the first half, way better than the first half. And if there was any decision between that or vice versa, I would definitely accept this more so than the alternative, because I'd rather have the second half be better than the first half and have the show just go downhill from its beginnings and just be a spiral downward and not end up on a very good note, and not have me looking forward to the next season should there be one, because as of right now, Turn has not been renewed, so I'm a little worried about that, because by the end of the season, this show really does fit its shoes, and it really does develop into the show that we wanted it to be at the beginning, because I feel like during the first 4, maybe 5 episodes, the show is either or okay or kinda sorta good, because it does have its rather neat and interesting moments and sometimes tension-filled moments that really make for good TV, but for the most part, during those first 4 or 5 episodes, it feels more like a good dramatization of something out of the History Channel, where you see all these characters putting in dramatizations of what happened back then in a little mini-series that you see on television, such as the History Channel or Discovery Channel or something like that. And that's not to say that it's bad, but it's just something that we weren't expecting. We were expecting something that would be riveting and would have us rooting for memorable characters and analyze fascinating characters, even if they might not be good people. And that comes into play around the halfway mark. It is at the halfway point where they start to introduce the whole concept of spycraft with dead drops and aliases and all of that terminology. And it is here where the story as well as the season definitely picks up, and it gets better after every episode, leading up to a rather explosive season finale that promised what its name had promised. The name of that episode indicated a particular event, and fortunately it fulfilled, more so than I thought it would do. And I don't think that the latter half of this season wouldn't have been as good if it wasn't for our characters and the actors that play them, because it is by this point where the actors really do find their comfort zone playing these characters, and the writers find a way to cement these characters as to what they are. Abraham, there's different layers to him, and he definitely has an arc from the beginning of the season to the ending, especially with what transpires in the final 10 minutes of that season finale. That really does take some really nice complexities to his character and makes you think like, hey, he just did this. Remember back when he mentioned certain things earlier in the season? I love that. I love that they were able to write certain things like that into his character. And not just him, but also some of the supporting cast. The character of Anna, who he has a history with. And then some of his childhood friends who have now become Continentals, and they're fighting for the cause, such as Caleb Brewster, who's this Irish guy who has this very dynamic, charismatic personality to him. And then you got Ben Tallmadge, who is just an overall badass. He is like the Daryl Dixon of the Revolutionary War, only without the angst, but more so in the vein of being a leader, but fighting for the good of the people. And he's just, so far, probably my favorite character on the show so far is Benjamin Tallmadge. He is awesome. And even on the side of the British, you got some really fascinating characters, and among the most fascinating would have to be what is arguably the main villain of all of season 1, Simcoe, Captain Simcoe. I can't remember the actor's name. I think his name is Samuel Rukin, who's the actor that portrays him. Bravo. I honestly wouldn't be that surprised if you end up getting nominated for an Emmy for this role, because in the beginning of the season, I'll admit, much like the show, you don't know what you're getting yourself into when you're watching it. So when you see this character and he's very like, I'm British, he's literally talking with this pompous accent, he talks like that. And when I first saw this character in the show, I thought to myself, I think I'm gonna hate this guy, but not for the right reasons. Not because he's a villain, but because he's just plain annoying. And you're supposed to find something fascinating in this character despite being a villain. But fortunately, as the season goes along, he develops into that character that it becomes so unstable that you just want to see where he goes next. You're not rooting for him, but you definitely want to see more and more of him. And then you got this other character named John Andre, who is played by an actor whose name I cannot remember, but whose face I can definitely visualize in my head. Because this guy, I'm going to put an image right here of him, is the spitting image of Tom Hiddleston. When he appeared on screen, I'm like, Tom Hiddleston? He's in this show? He added like, what, 30 pounds of muscle? Because this guy is just a beefier looking version of Tom Hiddleston, and it is eerie. And I'm not going to try to go into every single character and what they're all about, but these characters really do come into their own by that latter half. Just as much as the show, it's the latter half that really that is a really good payoff to the season as a whole. But you really do need to go through those first 4 or 5 episodes to see how they end up from point A to point B, despite the show not being that interesting as a whole during those first 4 or 5 episodes. It's around episode 5 or 6 where things start to really get good, and things start to really pace well from episode to episode. Now, every now and then you have a scene that's kind of tacked on, and you're like, why is this here? This could have been saved up for its own episode. But as a whole, this show really does pick up around the halfway mark. But one thing that I could say is that throughout the entire season, there are some really great production values. Throughout the entire season, you got some really good cinematography, some great art direction. From the beginning of the season to the end, I really felt like I was in this place of Setauket back in the 1700s. It's just that when it comes to its storytelling and its character development, none of that really came into play very well until the halfway mark, where things really started to get good and meatier and tense, and certain plots and subplots started to convolute with one another, but not in a bad way, but in a good way, where it would only be made for TV. Because if you try to tell this kind of story within a 2-hour movie, it's going to feel either rushed or compacted and not very good. But because this is a series, it's nice to see that flow go from episode to episode. Now, this isn't the best kind of storytelling that I've seen in a television show, but I'm not going to make that comparison again, because I've made that comparison way too many times, especially since this is an AMC show, so I'm not going to mention it. I'm not going to mention it. But I am going to say that this is one of the better shows that I've seen so far throughout the year. But, I still have a soft spot for Walking Dead and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but this is definitely something really good to watch while you wait for those shows to come back. So I will go ahead and give Season 1 of the new AMC television show Turn an 8 out of 10. I think it's a really good show, but it isn't until the halfway point where it really starts to find its footing, and you got some really great scenes with good characters that fortunately by this point have been fleshed out, and we really deviated away from that documentary dramatization type feel, like it belonged on the History Channel or something like that. And we really started to feel like we were watching a genuine television show with characters that we wanted to see play out in this backdrop of the Revolutionary era. So let me know if any of you guys managed to catch Turn during its spring run on AMC, and if you did, let me know if you guys want to see a season 2. What do you want to see in season 2? And do you think that AMC has another hit on their hands? But if you have not seen Turn season 1, then be sure to catch it on either some form of rerun over the summer on AMC or later on when it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray. And let's hope for there to be a season 2 so that we can definitely see some of the things that were planted in the season finale for season 1. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time when I review season 1 of Halt and Catch Fire, because that's what I'm watching right now, and it's getting pretty good. See you then.